Hello there, and welcome to Game Week 9 of the NSL, the Naval Sports League. My name is Atticus. I am the stand-in host for this week, and joining me tonight as correspondents will be Spicy Paper, Admiral Piet, Wavy,
Hello.
Sabo
Hey,
Jesus, and Warcrime. And since
Hello.
I'm flying solo tonight, you're going to hear a lot more from these guys tonight. This week we have the Bonapartnership versus the Krakrns. These are two undefeated teams, if memory serves. So somebody today is losing their 100% record. Um, Personally, I've got this down as a Bonapartnership win. I just feel they're a slight underdog. They they're a good cohesive unit. They're mostly all one regiment. There's only one small section of them these days that isn't from the first RM. So I don't know. I think they're going to cause an upset tonight. I think they're going to do a bit of a Daniel Dubois against Anthony Joshua last night, if anybody saw that. But but it's not just my opinion that matters. So straight up, Sabo, tell me, who do you think's got this one?
I think it definitely come down to the wire because they're both really good teams. But I think KRN, should I say, or the Krakrns, might just pip out and lead, possibly. I reckon.
Fair. And to try and back up that theory, I'm going to go to Wavy, who is a Kraken himself, but has given up
Well,
his place in his team to help us out on the correspondence tonight, to which we are eternally thankful.
as you should be. As an unbiased and impartial observer, I think the Krakrns are going to win this. It's not even going to be close.
Yeah, would you agree with that?
Mm, Not maybe it will be a close win, but probably Krakens will win this match.
So that's 3 for the Krakens and only 1 for the Bonapartnership. Spicy, what about you? What are you thinking?
I think it'll be the Krakrns, but it'll go down to time and points or shift.
Oh, you reckon it'll go down? You reckon it'll go to the wire? The timer will run out.
Yeah, timer will run out.
Okay, that's a nice. I like that prediction. Walker, are you gonna back me up and go with the Bonapartes, or do you see nothing but Krakens?
I'm gonna go for the Bonapartes on this one. I think they got a chance.
Excellent. So we shouldn't be too far along from starting now. Um. So yeah. What to talk about? I'm not used to running this ship solo, so you're gonna have to bear with me a bit tonight. It looks like we're about to start. Yep, we are loading into the server now. So once we get in, I'll tell you who's who. I'll get my camera position. I'll tell you who's who, and yeah, that's about it to begin to start with. Whatever happens tonight, I expect this to be a phenomenal game. And last week's was disappointing. Last week we had high expectations and we got nothing. Well, we didn't get nothing because towards the end of that fight it did get quite good, but in general we wanted it to be closer. So hopefully tonight this one will be a lot closer.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that front. I mean, obviously, I said what I said earlier, but I would expect and enjoy a very close match between the two teams. They have both won before, and they could both win again.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we say, someone's walking out of here with their 100% record intact, and someone isn't, and that puts a lot on the line. So I'm into the server now, and as you can see, we have the Caucasian map. We've seen this map before. We saw it 2 weeks ago, I believe, when the Leviathans took on the VOD Coalition. And it is one of the more regular maps we've had this early in the NSL season. So on the left, in the golden British ships, are the Bonapartnership. Bit strange, Bonapartes in British ships, but that's part of the partnership. And on the right side of your screen, when we get closer, you will see that they are green French ships. are the Krakrns, who are made up of a British regiment. So everything's a little bit swapped around here. And I've got a question for Wavy, actually. Wavy, do you think there's any danger that firing on golden ships might be a problem for the Krakrns, since they're not used to it? You guys generally play as British.
I think it could be something that happens, maybe particularly if the gunboats get a little bit turned around, fighting each other. They might fire on a friendly ship. It has happened in the past when we've been playing as the French, that sometimes we get a little bit confused.
Oh, well, we'll have to keep an eye out for that. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. We are T-minus 40 seconds. And, oh, just for the audience at home, the wind is blowing northwest, so it's kind of in the face of the Krakrns and the French fleet, but it's not directly in their face. So we'll see. I think their early fleet maneuvers and how they leave spawn will be the more interesting thing to watch. I think the Bonapartes have many options, but the Krakrns have to give them something to think about in these early doors. Warcrime, how do you see? What would you say? What would you do if you were the Kraken's admiral right now?
Definitely try and get the wind advantage early on and just try to react as best I could to the enemy fleet.
That's fair. That's fair. And as
Yeah,
they,
well, I expect the Krakrns are going to go and try to go wide around the islands, fight this more defensively.
we have seen that tactic before. I think we saw it last week with the Seawolves. They opted to go around the islands rather than to go down the center, and it seems to be the tactic to go for when the wind is against you. And as we see, the Bonapartes are leading with an 8-gun. We're seeing that become more and more prevalent. It was mentioned last week that from the early weeks of the NSL, we were seeing the 13-gun lead, and more we're starting to see 8 guns leading. But the Kraken's sticking with the tried and tested by the looks of things to start with. Their 13-gun is out in the lead, and as Wavy predicted, they do seem to be heading out and around the islands. Anyone on any ships got anything insightful for me?
Seems that Kraken starts to open up aggressively as they release the robot with carpenters on board.
Ah, the Carpenters are in the water already. Yes, the the Krakens do have quite a famous carpenter among these circles in Metric. He loves this, I
And
assume.
what is leading the charge?
I think we on the overhead we can see the rowboat. It seems to be that little speck just moving away from the fleet all alone. So I'll try and keep that in view. It's a pity nobody could go with him. That would have been interesting. But if he gets close, we might zoom in a little on the overhead. In that case, I apologize, viewers at home, if the overhead gets a bit janky. I am trying to control it and commentate at the same time. So, and I ain't no multitasker. I'm not even gonna claim to be a multitasker. But back to the fleet maneuvers. So, yep, definitely a defensive start from the Krakens. Definitely what they had to do. And the Bonapartes are using the wind advantage to get their fleet into a perfect line. That's a beautiful line. Decided to only put one 8-gun forward. I quite like that, Spicy. What do you think? One 8-gun forward, then the 13, then the 3 8-guns behind.
You know, I don't actually see it as being a big deal. It all depends on the strategy you want to employ. You can have your flagship in the front, but you're going to want to keep them a little bit farther away. So they might not be a perfect line if you have them in the front. But in the long run, I don't think it makes a difference whether the flagship is in the front or not.
Fair enough, fair enough. I mean, I don't really mean for... I don't, honestly, personally, don't think the flagship in the front is the right way to go in this competition in any way, shape, or form. But it's more...
Looks like the Bonapartnership are going to try and turn across the T of the Kraken fleet as they
It
go
doesn't-
upwind, just like Seawolves did to Black Sea Fleet last week.
That's going to be a bit of a race. I mean, yeah, you can see what they're going for. They're going for the gap between that center island and yeah.
Yeah.
But if they keep on this current course, that they're going to roll right. They're going to roll their T's right into the broadside of that entire fleet. They're going to have
They need to
Go on.
turn upwind a little bit more to avoid that happening.
absolutely. I mean, what they could do is go for a bit of
And
a
the fact
drive.
they're shifting to do that now.
They are. They seem to be straightening up a little bit.
This is where having their 13 gun back in the fleet isn't so great because they can't use its downwind speed to have got closer to cross this T. I don't think they're going to manage it properly.
One interesting factoid has just been brought to my attention. The Bonapartes have not launched any boats yet. All 6 of their boats are still in spawn. This is an interesting tactic, and I'm writing this one down now because I want to hear from the Admiral on this one. Yeah, Bonaparte boats need to ask what the thinking behind that was. They now have started moving some boats out. Meanwhile, I can't really see the Kraken's boats. What I think I can see is that rowboat heading for the center of the map. He's to quote a phrase, all at sea here, but we are now starting to get a bit of action. They're starting to come into range of each other.
First hits have gone to the Krakens, and that's the first cannon explosion taken out by the front gun of the Kraken flagship.
Do you know who's on the Kraken flag? Do we know who's on the Kraken carronade?
It's
on the
Saspero.
Saspero. Okay, let's go. Let's go to Piet. Piet, tell me, what are you seeing? You've hit the action first.
What I could see that true Saspero is on the front that has shoot. Seems that they really packed the flagship with people, as I do not see any guns that is unmanned.
This is quite interesting. The Kraken fleet seems to have turned right into the wind and are trying to line up against the Bonapartnership. But the Bonapartnership have the position battle all over here. I mean,
they
the
do.
flag.
I'm not liking this splitting of the fleet from the Krakens.
The flagship is isolated now, and it looks like the Bonaparte Admiral has sent 1 8-gun off on his own. This is Sabo. Are you seeing much of this? What do you reckon? What are you making of this?
Saspero already destroyed another cannon.
I've been attempting to fix my Discord, unfortunately, because my stream's gone down. So, unfortunately, I don't have to look. But I can see the 2 ships where I was split off from the Kraken at the rear of the ship I'm on. While, obviously, I can see where the Brits have separated theirs as well. So, it's an interesting play. Not seen it before, so I'm intrigued to see what happens.
It is an interesting play, and now you've got 3 Kraken 8-guns moving away from the flagship that are now going to get their T crossed by a single 8-gun. Now that 8-gun is going to do some damage. He probably won't win that battle. Oh, and the 2 gunboats have just given him one hell of a well, you can't call it a broadside, a front side. What do we call
I guess that works.
But again, they're facing the 8-guns broadside, so this is quite interesting actually. We've got 2 battles going on here. Maybe even you could call this 3. You've got the lone flagship against 2 8s and a flagship. You've got 3 8-guns ganging up on another 8-gun, and you've got a single 8-gun off on his own. Happily, he's made a terrible decision there not to stop. He should have banged on the brakes and started reversing there. Kept those 8-guns on his broadside. But hey ho, they're giving us a bit of a show here. Spicy, what are you seeing?
Yeah, not much. Where I'm on the flagship for the Bonapartnership, and we're just kind of stopped having a gunfight with the other flagship of the Krakens.
Excuse me. Are you hearing much communication on deck, or is all that communication seem to be outside of game?
No, they're communicating ranging on deck. That's about
good.
it.
That's good. That's good. So I've just changed the. I'm just
Looks
changing.
like the Krakrns have decided that they don't want to take this flagship fight and are running off.
If you look at the health, they're making the right decision. That flagship is now down to half health. Although
And they
Although-
also lost two cannons.
They've lost 2 cannons as well. Thank you, Piet. Although, in fairness, the excuse me, I forgot their name for a second. The Bonapartnership's flagship isn't much healthier,
They were actually missing 3 cannons on that side.
and they've lost 3 cannons. Good lord, good lord. This is looking a bit chaotic now. Now it looks like the main fleet of the Bonapartes are trying to turn in their port guns, most likely because they've lost a significant number of their starboard guns. It also does give them a bit of protection from those 3 roaming 8 guns. But now this lone Bonaparte 8 gun is now coming up against. Oh, he's in a lot of trouble, this guy. He's got 2 gunboats right behind him, and he's got a 13 gun bearing down on him. It's not going to be. He's not going to last long, unfortunately.
No, though he's taken surprisingly little damage so far. Oh, there is a KRN attempt at boarding the lead Bonaparte 8 gun. We'll see how this goes.
Looks like 2 carpenters.
Yep.
I
I'm going
will,
to take a wild guess at Metric and Bulldog.
Actually looks like they're coming towards the 13 gun.
Oh no, it was Pazix.
Is that
even,
Pactus
and
of the
Metric.
Leviathan? Yep.
Yeah, the carpentry rivals now together in death.
How did those 2 end up on the same team? Did they make it aboard, do you know?
No, they did not.
They did not make it aboard. That would have
No.
been dangerous for the Bonapartes that those 2 made it on board. Okay, we've got an interesting lineup now. We've got the Bonaparte's main fleet. I'm going to call this little clump here the main fleet. They are facing off against 1 lone 8 gun, but the 3 rogue 8 guns of the Krakrns, are now coming up on them. This is the point at which you might want to consider as a captain double gunning both sides.
And that is what's happening.
And
Yeah.
that is exactly
Yeah.
what is happening. So at least whoever's giving the calls is making the right decisions on the gunning.
Yeah, that's what's happening on Drathian's ship at the front. Although they do only have 1 gun left on one of their sides.
I wondered why they weren't outputting much. Warcrime, what are you seeing from your point of view?
Well, I was questioning that 13 breaking off from the fleet early on, but now it looks like it's starting to pay off. It might have been the strategy because we are got them surrounded at this point. As
Excellent.
we move along behind them.
Yes, and he is taking major damage now. The Bonaparte flagship is taking massive amounts of damage. I think. Have they made a bit of a mistake here in engaging these 8 guns? I don't know. Maybe they should have gone for broke and chased down the flagship of the Krakrns, but this is a fascinating battle.
It really is.
Yet here seems that the flagship will start to board the 8 gunner.
The flagship.
It's a
Oh
possibility.
yes, it does look like the Kraken's flagship is going straight at the 8 gun parked against the wall. I can't tell from this. I'm gonna move my camera a little.
It looks like the Bonapartnership flagship is about to go down.
Oh, the Bonapartnership flagship has gone, and there we go.
Yeah.
We have our first sink of the match, and it is the Bonaparte's flagship. The flagship for the Krakrns isn't looking too much more healthy, but it's still up, it's still firing, and it's chasing that 8 gun. We've got a number of isolated little battles here, but I think the Krakrns have got this.
I feel like the Bonapartnership need to get their fleet back together.
Yes. I think the split really threw the Bonapartes, and it's worked. as crazy as it looked as it was happening, it seems to have worked to just break the entire fleet cohesion of the Bonapartes. Piet, what are you seeing at the minute?
Right now, seems that we have gunfight with the enemy 8 gun, and seems that on a deck seems to be silence right now.
Ah, fair enough, fair enough. Spicy, did you manage to jump on a rowboat as
I was on it. I just died.
You just died? That's unfortunate. Unfortunately, we cannot ensure our correspondence against cannonball damage. Or musket shot damage for that matter, but you know. It would have been nice to see a bit of board in action. And there goes another ship. An 8 gun of the Bonapartes is now down. I can't tell which one it is.
The one that was fighting with flagship.
Ah, the one facing off against the 13 gun is now down. Okay, so let's see. Bonapartes, where are your ships? Here they are, all 3 of them, heading in 3 different directions.
Yeah, the fleet cohesion has just fallen apart at this point.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was a strange decision to dispatch one 8 gun to sort of screen off the 3 8 guns. I would have kept the fleet together at that point. There was
Same. It might have worked if it had stopped in front of them for the crossing the tee shots, but it just kept on going.
Well, props where props are due. It was a gutsy move from the Krakrns, and it seems to have paid off in spades.
What I could also say is that their cannonade gunner is just that good. I already count 5 cannons that he destroyed.
Saspero is, yeah, pretty much our best gunner. He's our sea wolf in that respect.
Fair enough,
and
fair
he's
enough. That
backing
makes
off.
sense.
I mean, just looking at the scores on the 2 teams, generally it seems like the KRN side's gunnery has just been better.
It has been far and away better, which is strange because just a quick look at the scoreboard that I had then, both Seawolf, who you mentioned, and Shum of the FRL and the Royal Black Fleet in the NSL, both very high scorers on our leaderboards. Both lagging behind on the Bonaparte side, unfortunately. They're high scorers on that team, but the score difference is insurmountable, if you ask me. So now for the Krakrns, it is literally just a mop-up operation. They have one 8-gun here that's not long for this world, I don't think.
No, I can confirm that there goes another cannon on it right there. They have... Hang on, they have no cannons that they can actually shoot back with at the moment.
Have we got anyone on board any of these?
I was on board
Until you got killed.
Until
Yep.
Bulldog, who's one of my favourite people in the KRA, or was until he just killed me, got me with his gunboat from behind. And I wonder whether that Bonapartnership decision not to bring their gunboats and rocket boats out at the start maybe meant they couldn't fully capitalise on that KRN fleet split when it happened.
To be fair, if you were gonna drop anything to screen your fleet, the boats would have been the choice. If you felt you needed to screen, but again, we'll have to ask the admirals at the end. This is, and there it goes. There goes another 8-gun. Oh, and I think someone just shot a rowboat somewhere.
Yeah, Saith just got the rowboat that I was on, including myself.
So we are now down to 2 Bonapartnership 8-guns, and as we said, it is just mop up for the Krakrns at this point. They may not even lose a ship yet. They have lost a boat, but they may not even lose a ship.
If they keep the 13 gun out of it, I don't think they will. I think they'll get by without a ship being lost.
I mean,
Taken
based
is still surprisingly on high health.
yeah,
Consider that he was under constant under constant fire. We are not unscathed, but we could still survive.
that's what we're seeing. Sabo, what do you reckon to the decisions made in this battle? You're an admiral. Do you think it was a mistake to screen the 3 rogue 8 guns?
It's a risky move to have his fleet split up, but if you pull it off, it's a really good tactic because then the enemy are a bit more confused as to what to deal with first. And if they ignore the small ships, you can punish them for it because most people want a gun for the big ship because it's big and scary. So they ignore the smaller ships until it's a bit too late. So it's a risky move, but I think it paid off.
I think you're absolutely right there. I think you're absolutely right. They saw the big prize, weren't worried about the smaller fish in the sea. And we saw what damage 3 small fish can do to the big fish. I don't think spicy. It's gonna go to. I don't think it's gonna go all the distance this one.
Yeah, it may not.
And war crime. It doesn't look like the Bonapartes have a snowball's chance in you know where.
Seems seems Wood Butcher sends another company to chop some sails.
Did they get anywhere?
They just started.
They just started. Okay, keep us updated. I mean, I hate to say it, but this is the most cohesive I've seen the Bonaparte's fleet since they left spawn. Really, since first engagement, they are now forming a very good line, but there is nowhere for them to go. I mean,
No, they're going into the Valley of Death right here.
they've
Cannons to the
accepted
left
their
of them,
fate.
cannons to the right of them, and there goes a mast.
And there goes a mast as well. Oh dear, it just gets worse and worse for the Bonapartes today. I will be intrigued to see what the team scores end up at. That's going to be a big indicator of just how much of a slaughter this match has been. Because yeah, I'm going to have to call this one a slaughter as well, like last week.
Yeah,
I could agree with that. I was suspecting a little more close match, to be honest.
And it's going to be a win for the Krakrns in their French colours.
Seems that carpenters are ready to board.
2 more carpenters getting close. I'll try and zoom in a little, see if they can get close.
the Saspero has just
One of
broken
them
the
is on my ship.
4,000 score barrier for the second match in a row that he's attended.
Good lord, those numbers are insane. It looks like the Bonapartes have even their fleet spawning cohesion has failed, but this match isn't going to be going on much longer.
No. One more cannon shot.
We're going to see all they
Maybe
wrote,
two.
and that is it. That is it. That is a win for the Krakrns, and without losing any of their capital ships. That's a good record to go by, and we should be getting the game over any second. There it
There
is.
it is.
Let's have a quick look at the scoreboard. 31,000 to 10,000. So not the biggest score difference we've seen.
21,000, 2,100.
Yeah, it's
About the same as our last match.
I think a little less, if I'm honest. I think
Last,
last one
last
by
match
about
was
22,000.
over 26.
Over 26 was it? Okay, I'll check
Yeah,
back on that
applaud.
one. But no, a good win,
I was counting it on a channel, so.
a damn good win for the Krakrns there. So while we try and collect some admirals together, let's go around the room and let's just see what your impressions of the fight were. So we'll start with War Crime. War Crime, what was your impression of the battle?
Well, I'm sure my bookie's going to be calling soon after this. That was tactically very interesting. I really liked how it played out, and it seemed to pay off very well for them.
Yeah, we will definitely be asking Swaggington about that split decision because it paid off in spades for him. Wavy, what do you think? You were a bit dubious when the split happened, but
I was dubious, but it worked in the end. They just kept their fleet, despite splitting. Krakrns kept their fleet cohesion much better than the Bonapartnership did,
they
and
absolutely
they outgunned them.
they did.
So it was at the start of this. I said that they were going to win and it wouldn't be close. And unfortunately, I was proved correct, even though I was hamming it up for the audience.
The audience can still hear you, Wavy.
Oh,
Sabo,
oh no!
what do you reckon?
It was some, like I said, like you said, there was some interesting maneuvers there. I think, yeah, the communication between the fleets is always important. You could see the difference with the Kraken staying together, and even though they split up, they always kept the same distance to ensure they can cover each other. Unfortunately, there's that one poor Brit that got sailed off and got taken apart when he did. But no, it was an interesting match to watch.
It was an interest. It was definitely one that I'll look forward to the wardroom episode on. Spicy, what was your takeaway from that?
I think the Bonapartnership didn't capitalize on the Kraken flagship and 8-gun when they had the numbers advantage against them. If they were able to sink one or both those ships, I think the game would have went in a totally different direction.
Excellent, excellent. Piet, how did you find the battle?
I could agree with the previous statements. Interesting maneuvers, but a little too far, if I could say
Fair,
about it.
fair. And we have both admirals with us. Firstly, I'd like to say Swaggington, congratulations on a good victory, and Kieran, commiserations on the loss. Kieran will come to you in just a minute, but starting off, Swaggington,
Hello.
what what a win! I'm gonna give it to you. What a win! I mean, we were all a bit incredulous at the start.
I was too. Don't worry.
I mean, we're gonna cut to the chase right away. That split. Talk us through the thinking on that split. What was going through your mind? I mean, obviously, what you were hoping to happen, I'm going to assume did happen, but yeah,
Somewhat.
tell us more about that maneuver.
We did a training earlier in the week where we found that splitting up the fleet can be quite advantageous for just sowing that chaos. And I felt like the 13 had a good opportunity to just get a broadside on the entire fleet while the 8s could maneuver. I didn't get it exactly right, and it stayed there for a bit too long. It could have been a bit more fine-tuned, but it was the first time trying something like that out. But it achieved most of what we wanted it to.
So its goal was to sow chaos.
Yeah,
Because
to
that's
separate attention, divide fire. I was worried it was going to get focused, but I was confident in our crew.
it definitely did that. Tell me, how was your 13 gun captain? Because at one point in that battle, he did decide to put no finer point on it, leg it. He
That
wanted
was
out
on
of that
my
battle.
order. Mostly because I felt if we it was on about half health at that, well, just
It
a bit
was.
over half health, and I figured get it out of there because it will have an opportunity to fire again later. And we had the 8-gun covering it to make sure that it could get its escape.
I did notice that sneaky little 8-gun behind the alcove. So, what else? I mean, again, that split was absolute genius. Does anyone have any questions for Swaggington? Oh, Swaggington, we're doing it a bit differently this week. The correspondents might throw a few questions at you too.
Okay.
Anyone got any questions for Swaggington? Nope, it doesn't sound like anybody can think of anything. So this was your first time admiraling, I believe.
Yep.
How did you find the experience?
Very stressful beforehand. During we started to gain the confidence, so it was definitely worrying going in. But I have confidence in the crew, and the lineup we had was on point. So.
It was. It was. I mean, we commented during the game. Your carronade, Saspro.
Yes,
The scores he put up tonight are
glorious.
unbelievable. Yes, glorious if you're his admiral. Definitely glorious if you're his admiral. Um, but no. Great shooting. You did definitely outshoot the Bonapartes when you were side by side.
Mm.
It was a
I
very
was hoping that we could get away with the separation, even with less volume of fire immediately, for a better position for volume of fire later.
that's definitely a risk because you sacrifice that amount of firepower that early on. Who's to say there is going to be a later on, you know? But
Yeah.
hey, it worked. My hat is off to you on that one. What did you think of the wind? You had the wind pretty much in your face to begin with. Did that change anything early game?
When we practiced on the map, the wind was west, so it wasn't too far off. And I have liked the look of teams who have been sailing into the wind from the beginning, so I was kind of hoping for that situation. Although I was hoping it would be the other way, away, like into us, not south, not northwest,
So you would have wanted it
northeast.
east, yeah.
I think it was, yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Um, but no, I think your captains did you well. The three we tagged them the Rogue 8 guns. They definitely did a job. They rained fire on the Bonaparte's flagship once they got into position,
That's what
and
we were hoping.
I think us and the viewers all saw just how dangerous 3.8 guns can be if you don't give them the attention they maybe deserve.
Yeah, I was banking on the flagship being the focus, and that's why I pulled it out at that point, because it would have been harder to get shots on it, and it's a big distraction from us. So,
Well,
yeah.
no, again, congratulations. I mean, sorry when there's not more in depth, but I think the entire battle the entire battle hung on that decision to split and the reaction to the split from your opponent. So speaking of opponents, I'm going to bring him in now. Kieran, commiserations, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's a tough
Tell,
battle.
it was a tough battle. It looked like you guys were on top for a second. I mean, as I said, we were all incredulous when the Krakrns fleet split. We thought that's a tactical blunder of epic proportions, especially
Yeah, me too.
yeah, as Swaggington pointed out, it wasn't the cleanest break either. They tripped over each other a little bit when it happened, but talk us through what went through your mind for that.
Well, much like the KRM, we've been doing a lot of training, a lot of practicing for lots of different scenarios. We knew that when they were getting off, we'd just mirror and sort of go the opposite direction. I think from what I've seen with a lot of the VODs, it doesn't work in your favor to have the wind. Yeah, you're quicker, but you're quicker to your death in our circumstance. But yeah, when they split, I thought, right, I'm going to capitalize on this situation. We had our rear guard chip, basically turn off to meet their crew, and try and rake them, and then yeah, it didn't really work out well for us after we split. It was just chaos, getting circled by sharks.
I'll be brutally honest with you. I think sending that rear guard ship off was the major mistake.
Yeah,
Once that ship left, your fleet cohesion fell apart.
yeah, less
And
firepower on the battlefield as well.
less firepower on the battlefield, and the ship scattered as well. The rest of your 8 guns scattered. There was one 8 gun that the rogue 8 guns were focusing down, and I think the captain of that ship got a little bit spooked by just how much damage he was taking.
Yeah,
And then yeah, it all fell apart from there. But there is one thing I do want to ask you about, because there's something we noticed early doors. You didn't deploy gunboats until a good 4 or 5 minutes into the round. What was the thinking behind that? Was that a planned action?
it was. Yeah, I don't want to go too much into what the plan was because we might use it in a later game. But yeah, it was planned. I think when I saw the fleet had just come to a standstill, I had them mobilise and try and intercept whichever ships they could. Their boat cohesion was really good. They were focusing our rear ship, and we just couldn't match it.
Like I said, I mean, I know you were trying to rearguard action and try a delaying tactic for those rogue 8 guns, but I've got to tell you, all you did there was sacrifice an 8 gun.
Yeah.
Sacrifice an 8 gun that, I mean, had he stopped, he did cross in front of them at one point. Had he stopped there, maybe he might have done more damage and really slowed them down. However, he sailed on past them and then ended up in a 1v1 with the Krakrns flagship. So
Yeah.
it won't be the greatest memory that captain will have, but it was a spirited maneuver. Cannot knock the spirit whatsoever.
Yeah, I take full sort of blame on that. I asked the captain to peel off and try and rake them, but it didn't pan out. But good thing is we learn from our mistakes, and that's what this whole thing's about.
That's absolutely true, and that was going to be my next question. I mean, and I always like to ask the losing team this because I think the losing team always learn more than the winning team do. And as you say, yes, there are things you've taken away from this. On the downside, for the way the league's shaping up, that's your first loss. You've opened up with 2 victories, and now you've tasted bitter defeat today.
Yeah.
On the plus side, you haven't dropped any places. You stay 3rd in the league. Other games pending, of course.
Yeah.
But we'll see. So, yeah. Any questions from any of the correspondents for Kieran?
I'd just say quickly, well done, Swaggington. It was a decisive victory. I'm humble in defeat.
Thank you for coming. It was a great match to do. You made us very nervous going into it, so as a team who hadn't lost yet. And I did like that you pulled away the 8 gun, to be fair, because we were sending our gunboats around to go to the back of your line, and that 8 gun really threw us off for a minute, and we lost our positioning for a second. Like we overlapped a bit before we figured out what to do. So it worked at the start.
Yeah, I envisioned Horatio Nelson pulling off in the Mediterranean and going out in a blaze of glory, but unfortunately that did not happen.
Unfortunately, Nelson had a couple more ships than a single 8 gun, but yeah.
True.
From the correspondence, anyone got anything they'd like to ask Kieran or Swaggington if you've thought of anything?
I think you've about asked all the questions really I had on my head.
Yeah, you covered the key points.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, we were expecting a battle of epic proportions. It wasn't quite an epic battle, but it was definitely an interesting battle that did come down to very much I want to call it a brilliant maneuver, but aesthetically it didn't look brilliant, but it worked. It did.
It was definitely a bit scrappy at first.
It was.
It ended up working.
I'd be interested. I'll be watching with bated breath to see if he tried again or not. But no. To both admirals, great match to watch. Really enjoyed it. Again, Bonaparte's commiserations, but like you say, you'll learn. You know, well, not you know where you went wrong, but you experienced something that you know that you have to train for now, and you can come up with some sort of answer to that. Swaggington, first time admiraling. It is a daunting experience. I've done it once myself, and it was a daunting experience. Although you didn't have the indignation of your ship sinking during it as well, and an absolute freeze up. So you're lucky in that regard. But no, do you envisage more admiraling in your future?
I'd like to hope so, but that is not my decision.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay. Well, I think that's about it then. I think next week we have the SCP-38 versus the Jackals of the Baltic Sea. So this will be an interesting fight.
I am looking forward to that one.
I am as well, because it is complete. It is the complete switch around of this match today. This match was a clash of two unbeaten sides. Next week it's two sides without a win. So somebody is going to increase their win column by one next week. And that is at the same time in this same place. So that just leaves me to thank both Admirals Kieran of the Bonapartnership and Swaggington of the Krakrns. I'd like to thank Admiral Piet, Sabo Jesus, Wavy, Warcrime, and Spicy Paper for being excellent correspondents and at this point co-hosts today,
Thank you.
because it was a very much more relaxed. Lots more voices you'll have heard today, put it that way. So very much thank you to them. I'd like to thank Gunnar and Killam, our arena team. I'd like to thank them because we didn't last week and they were very, very upset. And I'd like to thank, here we go, Director, I don't know what SR means, Mr. Dr. Professor Esquire, for excellent directing as always. I have been your host, Atticus of X, and this has been NSL Game Week 9. Join us again next week for Game Week 10. Good night.